Dear students, topic we are going to discuss today is about institutional credit. In this topic, we have discussed about the definition of institutional credit, key features of institutional credit and the problems related to the allocation of credit between government and commercial sector. In our session today, we will discuss inter-regional and intersectoral credit distribution problems. What are the intersectoral and interregional problems? What is intersectoral problems? Every economy has different sectors. The sectors are like small scale industries, medium industries or large scale industries. We have agriculture sector and service sectors. Every sector of economy requires different amount of credit to do their business venture. When the credit allocation among this sector got varied, then intersectoral credit problem arises. The imbalance of credit allocation and distribution among various sectors of economy is called intersectoral imbalance. This imbalance may result in slower growth of a particular sector and eventually will result in a slower growth of overall economy. Let us have a look at the distribution of sectoral credit first of all, and then we will analyze what are the causes behind the sectoral imbalances. The sectoral deployment of gross bank credit, if we look at the data of 96-97 and 2009-10, then we can have an idea how the credit has been deployed in the different sectors. Here we can see in the agriculture sector in the 1996-97 or 2009-10 almost 11% to 12% of gross credit has been allocated, but on the industry part we can see that 30% to 35% of the total credit has been allocated. It shows a huge weightage of credit allocation towards industrial sector, where agriculture, which is contributing in economy almost at par with industry, but they are getting almost 1/3 of the total credit from the institutional shares. It shows a huge gap in the credit allocation between agriculture and industrial sector. Let us have a elaborated look of the agriculture credit scenario. Agriculture or the cultivators get the credit from the various sources. Let us analyze the agriculture credit trend sources wise. We can see here the 1951 to 2010 there is a huge change in the sources contribution to the agriculture. Initially in the 1951 we got almost 93% credit was made by non-national sources like money lenders, but which has eventually changed, and in the time of nationalization of banks it was 68.3%, which gradually dropped down, and in 2010 it was 29.7%, but still it is a very huge amount. Almost 1/3 of agriculture credit is being sourced by non-institutional credit. In institutional scenario, there are the two parts which are the key contributor for the agriculture credit. These parts are cooperative societies and commercial banks. Initially, cooperative societies were leading the agriculture credit, and till 1991 they have 30% share for the agriculture credit. Later on, commercial bank started leading and they had the share of 35% and 25% in 2010. Still, the credit allocated to the agriculture has remained 12 to 13% of total credit, and the several reasons are there due to which cultivators or farmers have not received enough credit to them. Let us analyze what are the reasons which has caused problems in agriculture credit. The first important reason for the lower deployment of agriculture credit is weak and unsuccessful primary cooperative societies. As we know, cooperative societies are the key player, a key point to distribute the credit into the rural areas or the far-flung areas. But certain issues with the cooperative societies have hindered the growth of the credit into the rural sector. These reasons are structural problem in rural areas, lack of capital and financial resources, lack of efficient management, and problem of operating in loss. Rural areas have several geographical challenges. It is not very easy over there to set up a bank, find a right location, find a safe building for that, got enough infrastructure and the proper place for the bank employees to live or educate their children. And all these reasons has hindered the setup of a branch in the far-flung areas. Cooperative societies are normally dependent on the state cooperative bank or the lead bank of the district, and the commercial banks normally find that it is not viable or it is not profit making venture to give a lot of credit in the rural areas. So, the cooperative societies has a dearth of financial resources, and due to which they are not able to pass on the credit to the rural area. Cooperative banks normally do not pay higher money to their employees, or the management over there is not as efficient as a commercial banks or any other organization, which again leads to the lower credit distribution into the market. Another problem with that is they have a 3-tier system, where the rural cooperative society is controlled by a district cooperative bank, and then it has been controlled or receives order from the state cooperative body. This 3-tier layer makes the system more complicated, and loan files got stuck, or it takes longer time to issue a loan, which result into the lower distribution of credit. And there is a huge loss in the loan recovery or on different areas of like higher cost for the loan distribution, due to which the societies have to operate into the loss or in a meager profit, which again leads for the lower motivation for the credit distribution in rural areas. Apart from credit cooperative societies, other problems in the agriculture credit are loan recovery, coordination among banks, non-performing asset, long-term credit to agriculture, and political interferences. It is very tough sometimes to recover the issued loan from the farmers. There might be the reason of famine, flood, severe drop in the agriculture crop prices, or any other reason by which crops fails, which result into that farmers is unable to pay the loan, and banks cannot recover their loan from those farmers. Different financial institutes working in the rural areas face the problem of the coordination among them, and that again leads to either the dual financing to the same farmer or the lack of processing of the documents. The farmer or not paying the loan is turned into the non-performing asset. So many times government take the initiative to waive off the loan, but when the government fails to do it, either farmers are forced to sell their land or banks has to convert that loan into NPAs, and with the higher NPAs, profitability and the motivation of the bank to distribute the loan into the rural areas goes down. Long-term credit to the agriculture is another issue, where it is very tough to recover that loan because uncertainty of the agriculture and the investment made by the farmer is very high, and which again leads to the loan recovery issues or converting into the non-performing asset. Political interference is last but one of the most complicated issue in the credit distribution in rural areas, where local political leader try to interfere between all the government schemes to issue that loan for the people whom they like or who are their supporters kind of thing. And this leads where a common man or a person who actually requires the loan fails to get the loan. Let us have a look at the industrial credit issues. The important problems in the industrial credit are high capital Indians, slow growth of modern banks, inadequate stock exchange facilities, lack of underwriting facilities, problem of tax burden. Mostly, it has been observed that Indian businessmen are high capital. That means they do not want to invest money in a project which is very long and huge capital intensive. This leads to the bank not to issue the loan for the long term project or a key term projects. Very few businessmen has inclination for that kind of project. Most of the businessmen are interested in a short term loan or mid term loan only, where the certainty for the banks are very low. Another reason is slow growth of modern banks. Post 1991, Government of India has allowed private banks to open the branches in India in urban market and rural market, but still the number of branches in India are very low compared to the most of the developed countries, which leads to the huge pressure on the most of the banks for the credit issues, and industries face problem in processing of their loan files on time. Inadequate stock exchange facilities. We have two big stock exchange so far in our country, which are National Stock Exchange and Mumbai Stock Exchange. There are several other regional stock exchanges which are working in the market, but still it has been observed that our financial products and instruments are not up to the mark or not updated according to the current economy, whereas in the developed countries and developed stock markets you will find different stock issues and the different products to gain the money from the public or other investors. The changes in the stock exchange and in underwriting facilities are the call of time, which can help industries to gain money from the public, and it can solve the credit issues for industry on a longer term. The problem of tax burden on industry is another major issue, where the huge tax rate is creating problem for the industry to survive. Other problems for the industrial credit are problem of efficient management, problem of dual financial services, problem of coordination among financial institutions, problem of inadequate credit, and lack of clear policy. Several companies have a poor management, and which leads them for a low profit or less utilization of their efficiency or the capacities, and due to which the credit issues for the industries got worsened up. The dual financial services is the most complicated problem for all the loan issuers. There is a lack of coordination among the various institutes which issues the loan, whether they are non-banking financial institute or banks, and sometimes a smart businessman takes a loan from the 2 or 3 different banks or financial institute. At the time of recovery or at the time of fail to pay this loan, the banks have a common asset to recover that loan, and which eventually convert into the non-performing asset, and it demotivate or discourage the banking institute to issue the loan. Though the several IT projects like Civil are helping to overcome all these fraud problems, but still there are many things required or many policy amendments are required to be done for the dual financial services. Problem of coordination among the financial institution is again the processing of a loan file within the time period, where the several bodies which are financial or non-financial in nature are required to pass a same project, and if there is a coordination is not proper, then the project got delayed, and which actually impact on the return on investment of the same project. Though we have seen that industry is getting almost 35% of gross bank credit, but it has been observed that the growth rate of industry and the growth rate for the credit allocated to them is not in the same pace. Credit requirement of the industry is very high, and for that there is a continuous demand from the various forum of industry to increase the credit limit to them. Lack of clear policy. The last point for the industrial problems of the credit allocation. Our country lacks a standard credit policy for institutional credit, which leads for the several complications like credit allocation, dual financial services, lack of coordination among banks and financial institute. We need an standard credit policy which can help in solving all these problems related to the industrial credit. Here we can conclude that agriculture credit has several problems related to the cooperative societies, banking structure, and due to the nature of agriculture itself, whereas industry has several problems related to the banking procedure, policy, and the credit allocation itself. Though both the sectors of economy, industry and agriculture are very important for the growth of overall economy, for the solution we require an standard credit policy which can help in allocation and the distribution of the credit in adequate and timely manner for the industry and agriculture. Let us have a look at inter-regional credit problems. Inter-regional credit problem means the credit issues in the different regions of the country. If you look at the report of Rao and Devraja, then their common observation has come is that the accessibility to institutional credit is higher in southern region, where the level of agriculture development is also higher. They said that the credit allocated in the southern region to the farmer is higher than the average of the country's credit allocation, and where the agriculture facility is always better. So, it creates a vicious cycle for the farmers, where the better farmers are getting more loan and the poor farmers and with the farmers with the lack of infrastructure are getting lesser loan. Let us have the look at the data for the credit allocation in the region wise. It shows that all India average the rupees per hectare, the GCA 2001-2 was 2169 rupees per crore. But if you look at the data, we see North India is only region which is almost equal to the all India average, where the Northeast has only 374 rupees per hectare, Eastern region has 1092 rupees per hectare, whereas Southern region has 5425, which is almost double of all India average. It shows huge variation of the rupees allocated in the different regions. If we look at the different state wise, then we can have a different picture altogether. As we saw that northern region has almost parity with all India credit allocation average, but here we see Haryana and Rajasthan both falls into the category of northern region, but Haryana has 5352 rupees per hectare credit allocation, whereas Rajasthan has only 667 rupees per hectare credit allocation. So, itself in the region we have a huge variation among the different states, and states like Odisha and Assam has very low credit allocation, like 311 rupees per hectare for the Assam and 479 rupees for the Odisha, whereas Kerala has privilege of 7666 rupees per hectare and Tamil Nadu 9403 rupees per hectare, which is almost 5 times of the all India average. There are different reasons or the different aspects due to which this credit allocation problem in the region wise has happened. The aspects are economic, political and social. Normally, every person or a businessman feels to allocate more money in an area where the better infrastructure is and he can get easy money out of it, and that leads to the developed states where the southern area has a better irrigation facilities and the crop facilities. People put more money over there, and that leads for the higher allocation of the credit into the rural area of southern region, whereas states like Rajasthan and Odisha lacks in the basic facilities, and which leads to the lower credit allocation. Political aspect. Normally it has been observed that the political leaders always try to put more money in the area where they belongs to. And when the powerful political leader who is having the authority to allocate the credit, so many times it happens that money goes to the particular states and it leads to the rest of the state or rest of the country in lacking the resources or lacking the proper credit allocation for them. The social aspect of the regional imbalance is that where the richer people are getting richer, the better facility and better infrastructure is getting more improved, but the areas which are lacking in the growth, which are lacking in the good infrastructure are going down and they are not coming at par with the remaining areas of the country, and which is creating a regional imbalance in across economy. Let's summarize our discussion of today. Today, we discussed about intersectoral problems and interregional problems. In intersectoral credit problem, we discussed about credit allocation between sectors, what are the different allocation between agriculture, industry and small scale industry. Then we discussed about agriculture sector problems, where we discussed the sources from which cultivators are getting loan and the ratios of the money lender, of the cooperative bank and commercial banks. And we understood various issues which are causing the credit problem in agriculture sector. Industrial sector problems were discussed in our session today, and here we discussed the various causes due to which the industrial credit problems are happening. Interregional credit problem was another part of our discussion today, in which we discussed the regional credit distribution and the deployment of the credit, the different region wise, and we saw the credit allocation in some of the states where the variation was very high compared to all India average. We discussed the different aspects of regional credit allocation problem, like economic aspect, political aspect and social aspect of this problem. Thank you.